Okay, good morning, you guys. This is so exciting, and it's so awesome to see like some of you that are local here to Samara as well. So I want to just opening my notes here so I don't forget anything. Um, I want to well, first, welcome all of you that are new to this event. I do these events monthly and I absolutely love them because it's an opportunity for you to kind of just shift your awareness, right? So we'll talk more about that in a second, exactly what I mean there. But this is something that we're going to continue to do within Rise Academy, specifically this event, the Release to Receive. This is our like annual end of the year reflection, letting go, kind of cleaning slate. Okay, and so this is something that I am specifically so excited about because it's the end of a year-long cycle. Like it's time to close the chapter. It's time to let it go, right? And so specifically this event and this time and space, December 28th, 2023, we just actually had a full moon. So we had a full moon in Cancer. Was it on Monday or Tuesday? I can't remember. Anyway, so this will amplify our intentions as we go through this event, right? Specifically today and well, specifically today, actually, because this is a full moon and it's specifically asking us to heal and find closure. Okay, this moon in specific. So there is huge growth and empowerment here for us. Whatever we've been carrying, whatever we've been identifying through, it's now, this is our time to let it go, right? To let it go, to heal, to bless, release, appreciate, to love it, and to like say, that's it, I'm done, right? To close it. And then going forward to decide with intention how our life is going to look, how it's going to feel, what we're calling in, all of those amazing things. Okay, so today we're really focused on reflecting, okay? Because first, before anything happens, we must become aware of our tendencies, of our beliefs, of our stuff, so that we can honor it, send it so much gratitude, and let it go. Okay, so this is what we're really focused on today. So like I've been saying, like through doing this, like kind of cleaning, it's like clearing out, we are opening ourselves up to receive like we never have before. Okay, so when we have clutter, when we have like when we have a baggage, when we have assumptions around so many different things, like we're so full, we have so much, and even in our mind we are so full, and we feel overwhelmed, right? We feel unclear. Have you ever felt that, those ways, right? And that is, like, in my opinion, it's really because we have so much stuff that we haven't kind of just acknowledged, appreciated, and released. Okay, so before we fully jump in, I want to ask you guys, to do me a big favor. Okay, so I want to hear from you guys, and although excuse me, although I'm going to be talking at you, I'm going to be talking at you for this next hour, I want to include you as much as I can in the conversation. Okay, so all of you know how to use the chat, right? The chat here. Okay, so if you don't know how to use the chat, there should be along the bottom, I think if you're on the phone, it's a little different. There should be something that says chat. And so you'll open it up, and I want you to get into the conversation as much as possible. Okay, so, and especially like, and even those of you on the recording, okay? So I want to acknowledge that there's people watching on the recording. So hello, I want you to treat this as if it's live. Okay, imagine you're here with us live. So get involved. All of you here, we all know that like live's where it's at. We can get emotionally, hey Quinn, emotionally connected, emotionally involved, fully immersed a little easier when we're live together. But I want you to, if you're watching the recording, to still fully immerse, okay? The more you put into these 3 days we're gonna spend together, the more you're gonna get from it. Take it seriously, okay? So if you can, turn off distractions, grab a notebook, your pen, write down any key ideas, takeaways. I mentioned at one point, I think it was in Manifest, that we have some pretty awesome prizes. So I think, I'd love to reward those of you that are going to take this event seriously, do the homework, really integrate. Okay, and so One of the ways you can win a prize is through sharing your biggest mind-blowing aha moment. Okay, and this is going to take place in the Manifest Facebook group. So you're going to hear more about how you can win prizes as we go through these 3 days together, all of those things. So the favor is to interact in the chat, get involved in the conversation. Okay, so comment, ask questions. If something isn't clear, like just ask me, I'll go deeper. Go crazy in the chat. Like make new friends. We're all here with the common intention to grow, right? To expand, to elevate our lives. So this community is so special. And by being here, you are a big part of it. Okay, so let's get into it. So I want to hear in the chat, first question, if this is your first event with me, okay? Let me know in the chat. If you've been here for a while, also let me know. Like if you exactly know how many events you've done. Larissa, how many events you have attended? Kim's first event. Awesome. Sarah, I know it's your first event too. This is so exciting. So I teach a little bit differently than, yes, okay. Teach a little bit differently than maybe some people expect. Okay, I teach from experience, a little bit from concept, but I teach from experience. Okay, I'm not here to just, yeah, Lori's been to about 5. I'm not here to just teach you what I've studied or teach you what I know intellectually. Okay, I'm here to teach you what I embody, how I live my life. Kai, lots, yes. Right, so I'm teaching you through experience. I'm going to teach you through story, through my own experiences, and a little bit of concept, a little bit of like logistical stuff. Okay, so it's really easy for us to feel a certain way when our 3D experience isn't ideal, right? So as we move into this first event of this like reflection, this first piece of this, it's really easy for us to feel a certain way when our outside world is telling us we're not enough, we're not, XYZ. It's really easy for us, okay? So the day-to-day struggles, yes, Lynette's been here for a few. The day-to-day struggles, the stresses, the worries, it's easy for us to allow them to take over and hijack our emotions, right? So easy. So here's the cycle. Our thoughts create our emotions and our feelings, right? The thoughts we think trigger an emotional response in the body. Our thoughts and feelings create our beliefs, right? Our beliefs create our reality. Why is that? Because our beliefs determine our actions, the actions we do or do not take. Okay, so everywhere along the way, there is a vibration. If we are thinking thoughts of lack, of limitation, of not enoughness, how are we going to feel, right? What actions are we going to take? This is what we're getting into today. We're getting right into this so that we can realize, oh my gosh, I have been identifying and I have been living through these emotions and these thoughts that came from an experience in the past. I've been carrying it with me, right? So if we're thinking about something from the past, something that happened in the past, we can do it right now. If we think of something that wasn't ideal, how do we feel? It feels awful. We're like, like right away, we feel a vibrational shift in our body. Okay. So we live in a vibrational universe. Everything has a vibration. We can see that through looking in a microscope, right? Everything has a vibration. And so it's really cool when we think about it, because everything is like the law of vibration basically states that like attracts like, right? So if we are in a good mood and we are happy and we have like a real genuine high vibration, we will attract positive to us. We will attract more on that state of that vibration, right? But if we are in a state of chaos, of like holding on to things from the past, some things that happened to us in the past, we are attracting from that lower vibration. And we can feel that in our bodies, right? You've probably had that experience happen to you at some point. You wake up and you're like, I'm having a bad day. Everyone get out of my way. And you go through your day and it's just like, bam, bam, bam. Can this day get any worse? Right? It's so easy for us to manifest what we don't want. Because most of the time, it's from something that's happened in the past. right? It's from our default. That's our default, our set point. And that's what we want to change that over these 3 days. We're going to change our default. I kind of call it our own governor, like a governor on a car or like a vehicle or a motorbike. You have like you can't go past that. And it always brings you back. If you try to go past it, you're back down right away. It won't even let you go past. So that is, we're going to get into this in a little bit of our, like Bob Proctor used to call it, our paradigm, our programming, okay? The way that we are, like the way our mind works, okay? So let me give you my own example, okay? So at one point in my life, I was a single mom to 2 little kids. So you guys, most of you have heard this story before. The father was and still is completely absent, unsupportive. I didn't realize when I was there in the thick of it, I didn't realize that I was recreating my past and allowing that kind of like governor I had on my life to hold me back, okay? And that governor, we're going to talk more about paradigms in a second, but it really has a strong control over us, okay? And it might sound like I'm like, oh, it's easy to change it. It's not necessarily easy to change it, okay? So we'll talk about that more in a second too. But I realized that I had been living through my experiences and I had been creating and recreating my past of what I'd been through because that is what I knew. That is what I knew, okay? Because it was safe. It's just what I knew. It was just how life was in my own awareness, right? So I was raised by a single mom. She's always been an entrepreneur. There was always just enough, never more when it comes to money. It was always just enough, okay? When I manifested my son, I didn't manifest a loving life partner. I didn't even know what that was. I didn't have that experience in my life. So I was manifesting from I was creating and manifesting from like a certain set point. Does that make sense? So when I was introduced to a new idea. I actually started an online business. And through that business, I was introduced to a different idea. Okay. So that's what this event could even be for you. All it is a different idea, like an idea that something else other than what your current reality is telling you, and maybe even the people around you are telling you, that there's a different opportunity. There's something even bigger available for you now. Okay. So I was introduced to a new idea, and this idea showed me that there were new possibilities, new opportunities for me, that I actually was pretty unique and that I could do things that were out of the norm in my current experience back then. So this changed everything in my world because I started to dream. I started to look at things in a different way with this lens of new possibility. So from the moment we are born, some of us believe, some people believe that even before conception, we are being kind of programmed by everything around us. And programming is not a bad thing all the time. It's a good thing. And it sometimes can be a bad thing, right? So what we're doing is we're picking up habits and beliefs from everyone around us. We see it all the time, right? Like the children are very similar to the parents most of the time, very similar. If it's not the parents, it's probably somebody, an influential adult in their life that is, leading them or teaching them or whatever it is. They're influential in their life. So this is really interesting, right? Because we are picking up the habits and the beliefs from everyone around us. So it's because until the age of about 6 years old, our subconscious mind is wide open. The subconscious mind has no ability to accept or reject ideas. Okay, it can only accept. So everything that we saw as a little child up until around 6 years old, we just accepted it as truth. Okay, we accepted it as like, this is how life is. Money is hard to make, right? X, Y, Z, fill in the blank. So just think about that for a second. When you think back to your childhood, do you see similarities between how your parents were and how you were? So normally we start to build our conscious mind around 6 years old. Our conscious mind has the ability to reject. Okay, so instead of just accepting everything as truth, it starts to process and it starts to think and it starts to question, right? We see this in our kids, and it starts to we start to kind of filter out and create our own ideas, right? So we start to think and ask ourselves, like, is this truth? Like, do I want to believe this? And so the thing is, though, is that most, even adults, don't realize we have this power. Okay, so have you ever, in a situation, for example, you're talking to somebody, a friend, and they're a great friend, and they're talking about something that they have a strong opinion about, maybe it's something negative, and you're getting emotionally involved with them, and you're starting to absorb what they're talking about. You're starting to almost take it on as your own truth. So whatever their perception, their experience was in that situation, you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll give you an example. Like, somebody said to me one time, oh, it's so hard to host events here in Samara. No one ever comes. And in that moment, I was like, huh, well, that's interesting. It's an interesting perception. Like, I had an opportunity right then and there to say, oh, yeah, horrible. That's awful. Yeah, that's true, right? Or I could say, I'm going to choose not to believe that to be true, right? In that moment. Okay, not out loud to them, obviously, but it's just we have an opportunity in any situation to reject any idea. Because remember, our beliefs create our reality. Okay, think about that for a second. Our beliefs. If we believe something to be true, it will be. Okay, that's how things are. So we can get deep into this as far as like our own assumptions about things, or like just how life is. If we accept it as truth, and that's just becomes our own belief, like life is like, money is hard to make. I'm talking about money because it's such a common concept, like such a topic, right? So if we believe money is hard to make, that's going to be our experience. It's going to be our experience. But it's not until we recognize that we have some limitation in our belief system and we choose again, that we can then choose again, and we can start to experience something different. Really interesting, right? So not only do I want you to kind of like reflect on your own childhood, like I asked you a moment ago, to see if you can see any similarities between like how your life is and maybe even how 2023 went for you. I also want you to reflect on your own child. Okay, if you have children. So how is their programming? How is their own paradigm? And remember that we as a parent are the main player in creating their paradigm and their programming. It's their view on the world. So if we ourselves are saying or physically experiencing lack and limitation in any way, we are building their paradigm and their programming for their future. Isn't that interesting? So see how important this work is? Like, we're literally changing generations to come by healing our own generational programming, our own generational beliefs. Okay, so Bob Proctor used to call this a paradigm. So I've kind of used paradigm, programming, beliefs interchangeably. So a paradigm has almost exclusive control over our habitual habits. So in almost all of our our habits are habitual. Okay, so that's interesting, right? Because this way that we were raised, or the ideas that we believe, these beliefs we hold, they control our habits. Okay, our habits are the things we do in a day, we do them in a certain way. Okay, so that's what we're going to get deeper into over these next 2 days. If you're like, I'm a little lost right now, that's okay. But you can also let me know in the chat, and I can kind of go a little bit deeper, or like kind of explain a little bit more. But hopefully you can kind of see that, like, it's almost like we're doing life through this filter, right? We are doing life in a way that feels comfortable to us. It feels familiar. Okay, but here's what happens if we continue on this way. We continue to create the same. Okay, so that's what we're doing here, is we're reflecting, becoming aware of our tendencies, our habits, our beliefs, and we are choosing again so that we can begin to let it go before we create new moving into 2024. Because what I really want for you is to be a blank slate, like totally leaving what was, what happened, these assumptions, these old ways of existing, leave them at the door, right? Leave them there, and allowing yourself to create completely new, right? It's almost like we're kind of like recreating ourselves in a sense, right? Do you guys feel that? Do you feel like how that how expansive and how exciting and how like limitless that is? As we step into a brand new year, we have this ability to recreate ourselves. Okay, so what comes up when I say that? Is there any resistance? Is there any like, yeah, but, or I'm scared this? Let me know in the chat, because sometimes when we you know, when we want to create something new, we have these like, we have this resistance. Okay, so this is our program, and most of the time it gets loud, right? It's like that governor. Okay, so when we have that governor set, it's holding us from progressing because we are allowing that program or control to lead. Okay, so here's an example. Have you ever set a goal or had a desire for something, and you get all excited and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, it's gonna be so great, like plan it all out, you can see it in your imagination, you're all excited about it, and then maybe you talk to your spouse about it or a friend, or a couple days go by and you start to kind of like see it again, and you see it in a different view. You see it like, oh gosh, that feels scary. I don't know what I was thinking that night. Like, I must have been like out of my mind. And you continue to look at it and you're like, oh gosh, eventually, maybe it's a matter of days, weeks, months, the desire starts to dwindle away and it starts to disappear. Has that ever happened? Yeah. Right? It's happened to all of us, and that is because we've allowed our governor to hold us, right? We've allowed that programming, that we've allowed those old ideas to derail us from progressing. Do you see how that happens? Okay, so if we want to create something new, something we've never done before, we must become aware of what's happening here. Does this make sense? Let me know. You guys are quiet. Okay, let me know. This makes sense. Yes, okay. Yes, our visions, choices, our desires attract and lead us to be in manifestation. I've retracted some thoughts and rejected some to get where I'm going. Yes, exactly. In any moment, like, that's the biggest piece here is, number one, it's awareness, right? It's becoming aware of like, holy shit, that's my old self talking. That's my mother talking. That's blah, 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 fill in the blank, right? It's all so exciting to think about. That pattern you just described is still so strong. So the thing is it's always strong because, take our age, for example, however old we are today. If this is your first time or one of your first times, or even Kyle, you've been around for a little while, but it's a constant need. We need to constantly remind ourselves, okay, if we have, especially if we've been just introduced to this different way of thinking, we have been walking the same path for 30 plus, 40 plus years, and we expect it to change overnight, right? We expect it to just be like, oh, I'm just gonna like start again, and we just expect it to change. It's kind of funny that way, right? So that puts it into perspective that we must be very consistent with this, okay? Very consistent. This next 2 days, we're going to go deep into allowing ourselves to think like we've never thought before. Okay, that's tomorrow. And then the next day, we're going to go into the embodiment of it, actually becoming that version of us now. Okay, that's where most people go wrong with goal setting, with like New Year's resolutions, with like vision boarding, is they think of it as separate as where we are now. There's a gap between where we want to be and where we think we are right now. Okay, the secret is closing the gap and being, not becoming. We're being that version of us now. So that's what we're going to go into. That's my favorite day 3. Okay, so now you can see we can become aware of these tendencies, and we can see why we have been creating what we've been creating, right? We can see how we've kind of been stuck in, maybe even like a little bit in a cycle. Like we've wanted to do bigger things. We've wanted to create more or change our experience or whatever, but we have been existing in this certain way. And maybe even people around you are still in that certain way. That doesn't help, right? So this is us changing that and becoming stronger within ourselves and within this community here. Rise Academy is all about this, supporting each other and reminding each other of how powerful we are. Okay, for me, when me and my partner are sharing what we want for the future, he'll share his concerns about the hows of what we want. And when I tell him the how doesn't matter, he tells me he feels like I'm listening. Like I'm listening to him or care about his feelings. Maybe you said not listening to him or don't care about the feelings and the issue. Is that what you meant? Yeah, totally. Okay, so we're gonna get into this tomorrow, the how, because sometimes, when we're setting these goals or we have these desires, the logistical mind, the masculinity in all of us wants to figure it out and wants to know how. So Larissa, let's get into that like big time tomorrow, okay? So the bottom line is everything starts in the mind. Okay, everything starts in our mind. We are creating our own reality, our own situations from our beliefs and from our ideas. Everything, period. Okay, so our minds are so powerful. We are so powerful, but it's really easy for us to put the pressure on our outside world. It's really easy for us to say, yeah, it's because of you. It's really easy for us to stay creating from that place, okay? So it's easy for us to put pressure on our outside world and continue to create from there. So again, my own example, I could have stayed a single mother. I could have stayed in government housing. I could have stayed receiving government money. I could have stayed there comfortable, right? And a lot of people do. A lot of people do. But I chose differently. I chose differently because I realized that the impact that I know I'm here to make and like the life I know I'm here to live is so limited when I am living in lack and limitation, right? When I am living with just enough, still just enough, I am very limited. Okay. So I chose again. And that's what I hope that you guys are hopefully getting from this today is like, we have an opportunity to choose again. Okay. So I chose to break out of a cycle that I recognized I was in. Let's ask ourselves, am I in a cycle? Am I creating from my current experience? Just to kind of, let's begin to bring it together. Okay. We've covered a bit today. Not a lot, but there's some pretty big kind of simple concepts that we've covered that we now are aware of. Like we know that we create through our beliefs, we create through our ideas, okay? But we have a choice to choose differently. And so how do we change the governor? How do we change that like programming that we all have? Okay, so it starts with awareness, number one. It's all awareness. If we don't know that we are in a cycle, or if we don't know that we are identifying through our reality, we continue to like point fingers at everyone else around us, we will stay there. Okay, we will stay there. So now we have this awareness. So step one is always awareness. What happens after that is Bob Proctor used to always say there's two ways to change a paradigm. First way is through constant repetition of a new idea. So it's basically brainwashing ourselves into thinking something differently. So what does that look like in real life? When something comes up or there's, an opportunity, I'm going to use money as an example again. Instead of like going to the store and doing our grocery shopping, and at the end we have this tendency to be like, oh, it's so expensive here. Money goes so fast, right? That's programming. That's a belief. It's perception. It's all about perspective. Is that the belief that is serving us? No. That's not a belief that's serving us. One could definitely say, yeah, but it's real. It's the reality here. I can see it as an opportunity to get more creative, right? It's an opportunity to exchange more. It's an opportunity to get better at our craft and reach more people so we can impact more people and be compensated for it, right? It's totally a different way of looking at it. So in everyday life, what can we do when we come into something we recognize, oh, that's an old way of thinking, oh, that's my mother, blah blah blah. Like, we can, now that we're aware of it, we can choose again, and we're like, is that belief really serving me? What belief would serve me in this situation? Let's use that same grocery shopping. Okay, at the end, we're like, there is more where that came from, right? I am a magnet for money. Money comes to me through known and unknown sources, whatever. Those are affirmations. And how does that feel when we say that? There's more where that came from. How does it feel? Even if it's in our current reality, it's like lack and limitation, not a lot of money floating around. That's okay. Doesn't matter. Our current reality is a physical manifestation of our past thoughts, beliefs, and actions. Even current thoughts, beliefs, and actions. If we continue to believe those things and act in those ways, what's going to happen? We're going to continue to create more of the same. So we want to change that. We want to shift this. Yes, Larissa, I used this about money during Christmas shopping. Larissa, I think she came to the money as a spiritual idea. I can't remember if you did actually, but that was a masterclass I taught. I'm going to teach it again in January. It felt amazing after changing the thought process. Yes. Oh yeah, Larissa, you did come, and you're also in Quantum Wealth, which is an 8-week course, like an experience all on money as a spiritual idea. So it's completely different. And what happens is we start to attract differently just by changing our own feelings and our own beliefs about it. Okay. So everything starts with awareness. And that's the first way we can change a paradigm, is through constantly catching ourselves. And again, recognizing we have bad days, we have bad moments, we have our lifetime full of doing things a certain way, thinking a certain way. So it's up to us to give ourselves grace and say, it's okay. Like, it's okay. You're having a bad day. It's all good. Might be hormonal, might be the moon, who knows? It's all good. But in that moment, we have an opportunity to choose again, right? We can recognize, hey, I'm human. It's all good, but I'm going to choose again, right? And so not digging ourselves a hole and jumping inside, it's really catching ourselves and being like, yeah, I'm choosing again. Okay, so that's the first way we can start to change this paradigm. The second way is through emotional impact. So sometimes emotional impact, most of the time, Bob used to say it's something that's negative, and we don't want something negative we don't need to wait for something bad to happen before we change our lives. We want it to be something good. So if there's enough emotional response behind something, like it's not even your situation needing to be in a state, right? For example, like for mine, I had myself in a state, right? I was, somebody looking at my situation back then, single momming, government housing, like all the things, I was in a state, okay? And so I had a lot of fire behind me to change my situation, right? You can see that I had a lot of emotion behind my desire to change my situation. But if you don't have necessarily like that much of a desire, you've got to build it. Okay, you've got to build that like burning desire for your situation to be different, for your experience to be different, because then that is how we can get emotionally involved with it. And we can want it, and we can get our energy behind it. Do you see how that happens? Okay, sometimes it can be a negative thing. I'll use the example of what happened to me. In the start of 2019, I crashed my mom's truck. Okay, I up until then had been playing with the idea of getting out of the country for the winters. I was living in the snowiest part of Canada. Like, it's cold, it's long. I was with 2 kids. I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm just playing with the idea, but I didn't make a decision. I crashed my mom's truck on the iciest road, like near death experience for me and my baby, going to pick up my little boy at forest school. And in that moment, I changed. Okay, I still have goosebumps talking about it. I changed because I made a decision. I was like, yes or yes. I don't care how. I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. This is the last winter I will ever be in Canada. In that moment, that's how I felt. So what happens from that moment? This is what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I made different decisions, right? Because I made decisions as if I was already leaving. Kim and I talked about this already. Like, she had a similar situation. You make decisions from a different place. This is all about tomorrow. This is what tomorrow's talk is all about, and the next day. Okay. So we start to we move differently. We make different decisions. We feel different. We even look different. Everything starts to shift inside of us. And then our external world starts to change. So this is how manifestation works. It's not just hoping, wishing, dreaming, vision boarding, whatever. It's really a transformation that happens inside of us, in our mind. And over time, sometimes it's really freaking quick, we start to experience and see what we create in here, what we're going to do tomorrow. We start to see how it shifts. So crazy, right? So how is this landing? I want to hear from you guys in the chat. How is, like, do you recognize now? Do you have more awareness now than you had? Like, are you now like, oh, I see why I am creating these things. I see why I'm attracting this type of person to me. I've been attracting from a place of lack and limitation, of like, you know, down here energy, not like I'm a freaking boss energy. It's down here energy. I've been operating in lack and limitation. Okay. Yeah, I love that, Lynette. I've been leaning into creating from a place of flow and more of where that came from. Like you said, having fun, making new decisions, believing that, yeah, what I want is here. Yes, it's so good. It's so different, right? It's a completely different energy, but it's up to us to decide. If we're like, I don't know what I want. I know I want a different scenario, but I don't know what I want. Hopefully tomorrow will help you to decide, right? Because we need to make the decision. That is the one thing that we can control. As humans, we try to control every little piece, but it's actually, we only get to control like what we want. The how comes by default. The how comes naturally even over time. I don't even want to say over time because it can happen so fast, right? So we are always manifesting, right? We are manifesting mostly, though, what we don't want. Yes, Kim, I'm so ready to change my vibration, decide to choose better and change my narrative. Exactly, 100%. And it's by taking on that, that kind of like responsibility. That's it, right? You're recognizing it's like, it's me. It's 100% on me, and I'm choosing to change, and no one else gets to control that or gets to have a say. It's on me. So love that. So empowering. Okay. So next, before we close off, I know we're running a little bit over time, but I actually was like coming in and out a million times. So we're not fully, but if you need to jump off, I'm going to put the recordings together and I'm going to send them on the email with some integration embodiment questions for you. And really, truly, again, I want you to go through the questions. Before we log off today, I'm going to lead you through a tapping session. For those of you that can stick around, let's hope the internet sticks around as well. If you have to jump off, feel free. Like, it was so good to see you. And like I said, I'm going to send out the recording, so catch the replay as soon as you can. Do the questions, and also do them more than once. And then I have something extra for you to do at the end of the tapping session. Okay. So if you've never done tapping before, basically what we're doing is we're tapping on acupressure points on different parts of the body and talking about our feelings. Okay, so the topic I would love to tap on today is what we've been talking about today: letting go of what was, giving ourselves permission to change. Okay, stepping outside of the comfort zone into the unknown, the absolute unknown. Okay, we've never been there. We've never been that version of us yet. Okay, so I want to hear from you before we jump in. When I ask you to do things you've never done before, dream like you've never done before, and take action from a place as someone you have never been before. What do you hear? What do you feel? Okay, usually what happens is your paradigm, that programming gets really freaking loud. It's very loud. So do you feel any resistance? Do you feel any like, yeah, but, or it's scary, or I'm afraid to fail, or what if I fall? What will they think? What do you hear? Love to hear in the chat because I'll incorporate it into the tapping. Okay. So probably won't actually do it. Ooh, that's a good one. Thank you for that. Love that. Is it big enough? Oh, interesting, Lynette. Okay, so if you're questioning if it's big enough, then it's maybe a no. Is it big enough? But I'll say one thing on this. Am I expecting too much? Ooh, love that too. This is also in line with like what Lynette had said, right? So we are the only ones that can choose. Is it big enough? Is it big enough for me? And also remembering that it's going to expand. It's just for right now. So often we're like, oh, I don't want to like, for the vision board, for example, we're going to do a vision board tomorrow. The vision board, it's like, oh, but it's not done yet, because I have so many more things I know I want, but I just can't think of them right now. So we just never do it. We just never finish the thing, right? So just for right now, is it big enough? Is it good enough? Is it like, is this really what I want? And sometimes we limit ourselves as to what we think is possible because we fall back into that masculine. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. Am I expecting too much? It's like, no, man, no way. Go big or go home. It's all in, all in. Am I expecting too much? It's such a good one. Okay. Yes. Love that, Sarah. So this is your first event. So this is huge. And now that you're like, I have the awareness, or you're like, I am now aware of certain tendencies I have, and I'm aware that I step back into old habits. This is huge. This is huge because now your work now today is to become aware of your thoughts, right? Become aware of my thoughts and listen, and you can even write them down. Be like, oh, where'd that come from? Right? I always, as I go through my day, this is why it's not just a manifestation practice, it's a lifestyle, right? It's a lifestyle because every moment of every day, it's like, oh, I just had a conversation with blah, 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 and I felt a certain way. Why did I feel a certain way? Where is this coming from? What triggered me and why? You know what I mean? It's just asking the questions in every situation and noticing, I don't feel a certain, I don't feel good when I'm in this way, or things like that. It's all awareness. I love it. And then we can choose again, right? Okay, so I love these that you guys have already shared. Thank you so much. So what we're going to do is come to a comfortable seat. If you are in a safe place to do so, sit up tall, roll your shoulders up and back a couple times. Just allow yourself to arrive, okay? And close your eyes, take a breath. Okay, take a full breath in through the nose. Full breath out the mouth. Just allowing yourself to find some stillness here. Allowing yourself to just breathe and just be. So when I ask you to do something you've never done before, to step outside of what you have been believing is comfortable up until now, I want you to just notice in your body how you feel. How does it feel to know that you are going to do something brand new? How does it feel to let go of what was? How does it feel to let go of your past? So just notice what comes up in the body. We hold so much emotion in the body. Okay, take a breath here. If you'd like to give it a number between 1 and 10, so 1 can be no sensation, I don't feel anything, totally fine. 10 is like, holy moly, like I am feeling a certain way. Okay, just noticing where you're at right now. And if there's anywhere specific you're holding this energy, maybe it's showing up as tension in a certain part of the body, is becoming aware of it. Take one more breath. Okay, and then open your eyes when you're ready. Take a moment to write that down if you want to write down your number. We'll do a little bit of reflection in a second here. We're going to do 3 rounds, 3 shorter rounds. I'm going to incorporate what you guys had already shared with me, and you're basically just going to follow what I'm doing. A little bit of Simon Says here, okay? So we'll begin by tapping on the side of the hand. Doesn't matter what it looks like, just tap on the side of your hand. Not too hard. Take a breath. And you're just going to repeat after me. Okay. So say, when I, sorry, take 1 second. Okay, when I think of doing something new, something that I have never done before, there's part of me that feels a certain way. I can feel this sensation in my, fill in the blank, and it feels like, fill in the blank. So even though I know I really want to change my situation, and change my experience in my life, there's a part of me that is afraid. There's a part of me that wants to hold on to these old tendencies. And that's okay. I deeply and completely love and accept myself anyway. And I am here to expand and to grow. Okay, let's go to the top of the head. By the way, Sarah, totally safe during pregnancy. I wanted to say that. Okay, top of the head. When I think of doing something I've never done before, eyebrow point, or changing the way that I do my life, side of the eye, there's something inside of me that feels uncertain. Underneath the eyes. When I think of my own situation, underneath the nose, and what I have created in my life up until now, underneath the mouth, I feel so grateful. Collarbone point. I feel so thankful for what I've been through. Underneath the arms. But I know I want so much more. Underneath the chest. I know I am here to do big things in this lifetime. Wrist point. And I know that I have been in my own way for too long. Top of the head. So when I think of stepping outside of my comfort zone, eyebrow point, it feels a little scary. Side of the eye, it feels very foreign to me. underneath the eyes. It feels, fill in the blank. How does it feel to you? Underneath the nose. I really want my situation or experience to shift. Underneath the mouth. But there's part of me that believes I probably won't stick to it. I probably won't actually do it. Collarbone point. I'm worried about what others will think. Underneath the arms. What if I fail? Underneath the chest. What if I'm not good enough? Wrist point. What if my tendencies will take hold of me again? To the top of the head. All of this emotion I'm holding on to. Eyebrow point. All of these thoughts and feelings and beliefs. Side of the eye. I know they are not serving me. Underneath the eyes. And I've been holding on to them for way too long. Underneath the nose, I'm ready to see them as they are. Underneath the mouth, I am ready to let them go. Or collarbone point, and finally commit to changing my experience. Okay. Take a breath. Close your eyes, just notice how you're feeling. If this is your first time tapping, you might feel like tingly, sometimes yawning. We're shifting the nervous system here. Okay. So just tap in or like connect in again. How are you feeling? Is there anything that has shifted? Sometimes when we're doing this first round, we're all about venting. Okay. So if we were to do this more like one-on-one, this is something we could talk through, like specific things that are coming up. But here we're in a group setting and I'm kind of just doing a little bit of a group, like broad tapping session here. Okay. So yeah, listen to what comes up. Write down anything that you heard. I love tapping specifically. I see it as an opportunity for me to communicate with myself. Okay. So as we go through this next round, we're moving now into the forgiveness. We have seen now, maybe you've had some things come up, some thoughts come up that are like, oh, I see, I've been thinking this. Okay. Again, sorry, we're running over, guys, but again, I don't think we actually are at the time. Okay, so let's go into the forgiveness round now. So take a breath when you're ready. Just notice how you're feeling. We'll start by tapping on the side of the hand. Okay, and just repeating after me. I now see that I have been holding on to some old ideas. I have been existing in a state of, you can say lack or limitation, if that resonates with you, or fill in the blank. And I know I have been holding myself back. All of these thoughts and beliefs I have been living through for so long. I have been allowing them to control me. I'm ready to choose again. I'm so grateful for this awareness. And I am so excited for my physical situation to shift and transform. Go to the top of the head. I now see that I have been holding on to so many ideas. Eyebrow point, so many thoughts and beliefs that are not serving me. Side of the eye, I was questioning if I am expecting too much. Underneath the eye, through wanting my situation to change. Underneath the nose, are my goals big enough? Underneath the mouth, I know that they are. So the collarbone point, all of these thoughts and beliefs I've been holding on to. Underneath the arms, all of these limitations I've put on myself. Underneath the chest, they feel so real to me. Wrist point, but I now see that they're not. Top of the head, I am choosing again. Eyebrow point, and I am ready to choose thoughts of abundance. Side of the eye, thoughts of limitless possibility. Underneath the eyes, I forgive myself for thinking I'm too much or asking for too much. Underneath the nose, I forgive myself for holding myself back for so long. Underneath the mouth, I forgive myself for existing in these old cycles. Collarbone point, I forgive myself for falling for my old habits. Underneath the arms, I forgive myself for fill in the blank. Underneath the chest, and I'm so ready to shift. Wrist point, to expand and to experience a completely different scenario. Okay, take a breath. Connecting back in, noticing how you're feeling. There's such magic in forgiveness, right? So maybe here we're feeling a little bit of a shift. We're feeling like, okay, weight is kind of shifting a little bit. Maybe you check back in with that number if you had a number. Has it shifted a little bit? Do you feel a little lighter? Just it's all self-reflection. Okay, so again, write down anything that came up for you that you're like, I need to remember that, or that's where that came from. Write it down. Okay, so hopefully here we have kind of gone through like I now realize, I'm now aware of how I have been living, existing, thinking, believing up until now. Okay, I give myself grace. I have blessed it, appreciated it, and released it, and I'm ready to step into something new. I'm ready to change. I'm ready to catch myself. Okay, and from that, we're going to start to attract different situations to us. So let's close with our third session. So our third, how do you call that? Round of tapping, and we'll do some affirmations. Okay, this is my favorite. Yes, Sarah, bye. Okay, so we're going to tap in some affirmations. This is my favorite because it's like a little pep talk to ourselves. Okay, this is so important. So affirmations, they're awesome. I absolutely love affirmations. We're gonna talk more about affirmations tomorrow, actually. Okay, so take a breath. We'll start by tapping on the side of the hand again, just checking in with how you're feeling. And we'll say, I have been through a lot this year. A lot of good and a lot of, you can say not so good if it resonates with you. I now have so much more awareness. And I realize what has happened. I am so grateful to be here and now. I bless and release what has happened in the past. And I'm so ready to start creating from this new awareness starting today. Continue on the side of the hand and say, even though I now see that I had been holding on to so much, I am so ready to release it. And to start fresh, creating my life as I step into 2024. Okay, let's go to the top of the head and say, I am powerful. Eyebrow point. I am very unique. Side of the eye. I now see that I had been identifying through old behaviors. Underneath the eyes. I have forgiven myself. Underneath the nose. And I'm choosing to move on. Underneath the mouth. I am choosing to believe that everything is happening for me from now on. Collarbone point. I am choosing to believe that I can't mess up. Underneath the arms, I'm choosing to believe, fill in the blank. Underneath the chest, I am choosing to believe that I am always exactly where I'm meant to be. Wrist point. From now on, my life is happening for me in the perfect timing. Top of the head. I am consciously creating my reality. Eyebrow point. I am a magnet for positivity. If I can. Side of the eye. I am radiating light and love. Underneath the eyes, everywhere I go, I see abundance. Underneath the nose. And as I choose to step into 2024, underneath the mouth, I am choosing to remain and exist in this light. Collarbone point, I have shifted so much. Underneath the arms, I am in the middle of a transformation. Wrist point, and I am so grateful. Continue on the wrists. I am so proud of myself. And I am so excited for what I am creating. Okay, take a breath. Just checking in, noticing how you're feeling. Again, write down anything that's come up. Usually with that third round, I feel a little lighter. Let me know how you guys feel. Yes, good to see you, Lynette. Okay, I will send out the recording. You guys, the last thing I want to say, I want you as your main homework tonight. I also have some integration homeworks or some integration questions that are going to be in the email. your main homework tonight, because it was a full moon, because we are finishing this year-long cycle, is I want you to write down everything you're releasing, everything you're letting go, everything you are not taking with you into 2024. And again, this list does not need to be complete. Okay, just write down everything that comes to mind, power dump it out, and burn it. Okay, let it go. Do anything you need to do to let it go. I feel like we could spend all day on this topic alone, and specifically even one-on-one. We could talk about this forever. Okay, so I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I hope now you can see, you're now aware that holy moly, that is why I'm creating what I've created, right? Yay, so good, Lori. Okay, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for being here. And again, hang out in the Manifest Facebook group, okay? Because that's going to be our main point of communication, attraction, and then an email as well. Okay, I'm going to send out the recordings as soon as possible. Okay, you guys are amazing. Okay, have a fantastic day. So much love to you guys, and I love that it's you guys on live right now. Yeah, you're so welcome. Okay, you guys are amazing. Bye bye.